Football in Focus, teed up indoors on Battleground. Got Jay Ramey with us from Rockingham County. Got all the Rockingham County news going for us. Reidsville will roll again this Friday night. You think so, and why? Why will they roll again?
I think they will. It's going to be difficult. You know, they're playing Brevard, the Blue Devils, and they haven't had any common opponents. So, you know, I stacked up the stats against each other, but you can't be 100% sure on how that's going to measure up in a real game because we haven't seen them play any common opponents.
Right. I hate their nickname, the Brevard Blue Devils. I mean, you got the Mooresville Blue Devils.
I'm not a big fan.
Blue Devils of Brevard. I wish they could have got something more creative.
Devils.
I think Duke must have been doing something about that time. They just picked up on that name. The Blue Devils, they could have done something better than that. Brevard, the college team up there is the Tornadoes. I like that one. That's pretty good, Tornadoes. I'll go with that. But what about this? What about you're looking at some players on this Reidsville team? Al Lee, Kendra Harrison, Deontay Neal, Q/Flip-Flippin. They could all be all-state, right?
Oh yeah. Al Lee, 36-8 touchdown to interception ratio, 122.4 QBR, 62.1 completion percentage, and he had a really good game last week. 215 yards, 3 touchdowns, 85.7% of his passes were complete, and a very impressive showing, but he's done it all season. You know, it's been 5 games of 3 or more touchdowns for him.
So you talk about Ali. What about Harrison? What's he up to these days?
Kendra Harrison, you know, he's doing it all. He's doing it on offense as a tight end, 679 yards this season and 10 touchdowns, but he's also forced a fumble and leads the team with 5 sacks.
Boy. And he missed some time too, right? Missed a little bit of time early in the season?
A little bit. I think it was a game or 2, but nothing serious. Reidsville caught the injury bug early this season, but all of the players started getting healthy at the right time, just like Deontay Neal. Speaking of injuries, He was injured for most of the season, and then he's played the past 4 games. And they're not throwing the ball to him too much. They're letting him ease back into it, but he's made 260 yards out of about 9 catches.
Not bad. That's a very good average.
26.7 yards per reception.
Very good average.
He's very efficient. You know, leading into basketball season, he's one of their star basketball players.
What about this Flip-Flippin? What about him so far?
He was also injured at the beginning of the season, coming back at the right time. 597 yards, 8 touchdowns, averaging 20 yards per reception. Doing a fantastic job for the Rams.
He's in position to break some records too, isn't he? I saw one time he was kind of in a record pace at one time.
Yeah, and he was injured for a good part of the season. But it
kind of makes you wonder what kind of numbers these guys are about to put up. They've all been healthy
exactly,
the entire year.
I mean, 260 yards in 4 games. He could easily have reached 1,000.
What about this? You look at it from last week. What did Reidsville do right last week when they got that win?
You know, they do what they usually do, right? They just controlled the game, and West Oaks, you know, they didn't take their opponent lightly, even though they had beaten the Wildcats pretty bad before. West Oaks losing 42-7 against Reidsville this last game.
Well, did Reidsville play better against West Oaks this time or the first time?
They were both about the same.
About the same.
It was like 49-6 the first time, and playoff game, keeping all of their players healthy. That's what Reidsville is going to have to do.
What does Reidsville need to do better this week? Got the traveling Brevard Blue Devils coming in. What does Reidsville need to do better this week to make it a better game this week? What do you think?
Game. They just you can't take your opponent lightly. They faced Brevard in the past, but you know, it seems like it's going to be evenly matched because you look at Reidsville. They have, you know, more solo tackles, more receiving yards, a better overall offense. But Brevard has more sacks, quarterback hurries. It seems they have a better rushing combination in interceptions and fumbles. But rushing, I'm not taking that for sure because Jarrell Cobb, he missed a few games, and he's been on a tear ever since he got back. You see, in the last game, he was huge. He had here 128 yards, 2 touchdowns on just 7 carries. And if that seems crazy on 7 carries, 9 yards per carry, that's what he's done all season. He's averaging 9 yards per carry this season, 812 rushing yards, and 14 touchdowns in 10 games.
Solid.
Ridiculous.
And he gets left off that list sometimes. We talked about the other guys, like Lee, Harrison, Neal, Flippin, but sometimes Cobb kind of gets off to the side a little bit there. They got so much talent up there.
They're very deep. I mean, you look at their defense, too. Their defense is deep. 9 players have sacks. 8 players have interceptions, and 7 people have recovered fumbles. And a lot of them have doubled up on that.
Recovering fumbles, that is a load.
And Bryson Miller, he has had an interception and 4 fumble recoveries.
Let me ask you this, what about tomorrow night? Do they blow out Brevard like they did West Stokes and Madison, blow them out?
I won't say it's a blowout because Brevard, they're 10-2, and when I did the stack up, sacks, interceptions, fumbles, we don't really know how that actually measures since they haven't faced common opponents, but they got to take them seriously. Brevard hasn't lost many games. They've had some pretty big wins recently, beat North Stanley 36-7 and Trinity 44-13. So, we'll see.
Well, they got this number 2 Salisbury team, seed number 2 looming down the road. They're 12-0, but again, you got to get past this week to get to that next victory, hopefully. And no road games for Reidsville, number 1 seed.
And
you got to like that. At Community Stadium in Reidsville, every home game.
Reidsville's won 17 home games in a row, dating back to last season.
Not bad at all there.
They've really picked up steam over the season. Beginning of the season, caught the injury bug. They lost a game, which Reidsville doesn't usually do. They had some close wins.
That loss might have been good for them.
Maybe.
You never know. Early in the season.
And we talked about that earlier this season. We said maybe this is a wake-up call, and progressively their wins got bigger. I read a stat that their home games, their past 17 home games, they're winning by an average of about 5 touchdowns.
5 touchdowns.
Ridiculous.
That's a ton. Oh, well, let me ask you this question next. Some of the things you think first-year head coach Eric Teague has learned about this team and learned this season, and some things you can see he's doing better this year. This team for Reidsville is doing better this year than they were last year with a new coach.
I think he's learned resilience because Reidsville, they came off losing in the championship last year. Head coach retires, and they had a young team last year, a lot of players coming back, kind of sad about that. And it's tough to win coming off of that. And on top of that, they were less dominant early in the season, first few games, and they lost. And Reidsville is not known for that. And, the past 6 games, it's been like another team, destroyed most of their opponents. And resilience is really important.
See, it's not always a big deal, but maybe it is to me and some other people. How do you see this Reidsville team reacting to the new coach in some ways, who was an assistant coach before? His dad was the coach, Jimmy Teague. How do you see those guys, the body English, the body language, as they respond to Coach Teague now as opposed to Coach Teague who was there before? Is it pretty much the same?
You have to establish trust. I'm pretty sure that his son was there before, so they already knew each other. But, whenever a new coach comes in, especially in the NFL, we see this. People need to establish trust, and we've seen that develop over the course of the season. You can't judge it off of the first couple of games. You have to see how it gets down the road when the going gets tough. And, they just have destroyed their opponents in the past 2 games, which were playoff games. Hopefully they can beat Brevard by a comfortable margin, but overall they've just got to be focused on getting this win.
In the comfort zone, how do you see it? I know you feel like Reidsville is definitely going to win this game, but how comfortable will it be? How well will they do as far as how much they beat Brevard by? What do you see it looking at?
I'm not exactly sure. I'd say 2 touchdowns.
Couple touchdowns
but
at least,
I'm not 100% sure.
Tell you what.
10-2, Brevard, they know how to win.
Yeah.
I don't think Reidsville will come in taking their opponent lightly. You've seen what they've done to the past few opponents, just dismantling them. But I don't want Reidsville to get their sights set on the title too early. They just need to focus on survive and advance. But
one thing about this Brevard team, I know they'll probably have a nice charter bus coming in, but still, it's a long bus ride. It's about a 4-hour drive or 3-hour drive from Brevard up above Asheville, so they got a long haul in. So Reidsville's going to be at their own place tomorrow night. So like you said, their comfort zone. They feel good at Community Stadium.
17 home games in a row. Exactly. That's definitely comfort.
They're looking good there. Looking good there. What about this? Off the block a little bit. NC State 7-3 versus North Carolina 8-2 in a couple weeks. Not yet. A couple weeks. How do you see that one going? I know you mentioned you guys may have had some close looks at these teams this year. What about these 2 college teams in a couple weeks?
After
what we saw with Duke and Carolina last week, how crazy that was.
In college football, things change so fast, so rapidly. So it's hard to make predictions a couple weeks down the line. But I would take North Carolina.
Still favor them. Wake Forest at Notre Dame. You got Sam Hartman, the former Wake Forest quarterback, now quarterback in Notre Dame. Do you give Wake Forest any chance at Notre Dame? Because Wake Forest did not look good against NC State last week.
Well, number one, I'm not the biggest fan of the transfer portal.
Right.
How frequently it's happening.
Right.
If it's really necessary to benefit a player's career, I'll go for it. But I'll take Notre Dame in that. I like Wake Forest. My dad went to law school at Wake Forest, but Yeah.
If you had a chance to be a Wake Forest defensive player, would you not love to be in that game this week against your former teammate who left you to go someplace else?
Yeah.
Get that uniform on. I want that guy.
Maybe get a roughing the passer in on there.
On there. Wait a minute. What about, because we talked about this one time too, what about Liberty? They're 10-0. Do they go unbeaten this year? 10-0 so far. I think they got one more regular season game. Yeah.
I hope so. I think they will. I think they will.
You mentioned your dad had a connection there too, didn't
he went to Liberty for 1 year of law school. Then he transferred to Wake Forest for the last 2 years of law school.
He's an attorney now?
Mm-hmm. District Attorney of Rockingham County.
Wow, District Attorney. What happened to the superintendent of the schools? That's a different subject, I'm sure. But the school superintendent in Rockingham County, so he was doing a good job. Then they let him go. Then they brought him back. I guess he's gone for good now.
I have no idea.
Yeah, crazy story. Jay, excellent work as always.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know you were kind of under the weather last week. You feel better this week?
Yeah, I had my wisdom teeth taken out, and then the week before that, I was sick. I was kind of nervous that if my jaw would be fine to talk, but
feel good?
I'm feeling good.
Going to be at the game tomorrow night?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Jay Ramey with us on Football in Focus. We're going to take a quick break and bring in Jason McMaster.